A transmission cut through the void, a voice smooth and practiced, speaking the same words it had spoken 1,000 times before. "This is Supreme Commander Varesh of the Zalvor Dominion. Your planet is now under our rule. Surrender immediately or face annihilation. You have 1 hour to comply." The message was transmitted in every human language, broadcast across all networks. The fleet hung in orbit, casting a cold, artificial eclipse over Earth. Their ships were monstrous, sleek obsidian hulls glowing with the pulsing energy of weapons that had melted continents, turned oceans to steam, and reduced civilizations to whispers of dust. From the bridge of his command ship, Varesh watched the planet below with disinterest. The humans were taking longer than expected. Most species panicked, bombarding them with desperate transmissions. Please, bargaining, prayers. The usual displays of weakness. But Earth remained silent. His subordinates stirred uneasily, but Varesh remained confident. He had seen defiance before. Seen it crushed under the weight of firepower his fleet carried. The Zalvor were rulers of the stars. Humanity, for all its recorded wars and stubborn history, would be no different from the others. A soft chime signaled an incoming response. The humans had finally decided to speak. The image flickered into view, an older human male, silver-haired, uniform crisp. His expression was unreadable, his voice measured. "This is Admiral Pierce of United Earth Command. We acknowledge your message." A pause. Varesh leaned forward slightly. "And we ask, what terms do you offer?" Predictable. The tone was calm, but the words confirmed everything Varesh expected. The humans were afraid. He allowed himself a thin, reptilian smile. "Terms? Your kind will work in servitude under the Dominion. Your governments will dissolve. You will contribute resources, technology, and labor. Those who resist will be eradicated. You should be honored. You are the last species we will ever need to conquer. Our empire will be complete." Another pause. The human's gaze did not waver. If anything, he seemed almost expectant. "I see," Admiral Pierce finally said. "And we assume you are prepared to demonstrate your power, should we refuse?" Varesh exhaled sharply through his nostrils. These creatures wasted too much time on formalities. "Indeed," he said, raising a clawed hand. "Your hour is up." He gestured. The order was given. High above Earth, a warship 3 miles long hummed to life. Its forward array glowed, heat rippling across the blackness of space as it drew power into its primary cannon. The energy coalesced, then launched forward, a spear of concentrated destruction. It had been enough to crack planets. Enough to erase entire capitals in a single, searing instant. The beam hurtled toward Earth's surface, its light reflecting off the atmosphere. Then, it stopped. Not deflected. Not absorbed into a shield. It simply unraveled, like water meeting an invisible hand. The light twisted, shimmered, then broke apart into harmless particles, dissipating into nothingness. The bridge of the Zalvor flagship fell into stunned silence. Varesh blinked, his throat tightening. He turned to his weapons officer. "What happened?" The Zalvor officer's tendrils quivered. His clawed fingers worked feverishly over the controls. "Supreme Commander, the energy was redirected. He hesitated. It was absorbed." The words felt alien to him, but the readings confirmed it. Earth hadn't resisted the attack. It had simply taken it. Varesh's jaw tightened. Fire again. Another pulse of energy lanced toward the planet. Another brilliant explosion of light, then nothing. The attack collapsed into shimmering dust, harmless as fog rolling over a field. This time, the human spoke first. "That's quite the weapon you have," Admiral Pierce said, voice carrying a tinge of amusement. "Thank you for the donation." Varesh's mind raced. Impossible. No species had ever. His tactical officer let out a choked sound. "Supreme Commander, the humans, they're charging weapons." Varesh snapped his head toward the display. Human warships had appeared from the planet's shadow. They had not been idle. They had not been afraid. They had been waiting. Varesh barely had time to snarl a command before Earth returned fire. The first human salvo struck like a hammer. A cascade of kinetic slugs, traveling at near-relativistic speeds, ripped through the lead Zalvor warship before its shields could even register the impact. The behemoth shuddered, its armor crumpling inward as entire decks ruptured in fiery bursts. It didn't explode in one grand detonation, it died in pieces, bleeding wreckage into the void. Varesh barely had time to process the loss before the next wave came. This time, it wasn't just physical projectiles. Spikes of energy, Zalvor energy, their own weapon turned against them, lashed out from human warships. The readings were undeniable. The humans hadn't just neutralized their attack. They had stored it. An eerie silence filled the command bridge. The humans had taken the Zalvor's strongest weapon and fed it back with interest. The Dominion's war doctrine, unchanged for millennia, was failing in real time. How? Varesh's voice was a rasp, more to himself than to his officers. No one answered. The Zalvor had never needed an answer before. Their fleets had always crushed resistance before questions ever needed asking. A warning klaxon blared. More human ships uncloaked, emerging from hidden positions behind planetary bodies, from the darkness beyond the ecliptic plane. The Dominion fleet, once a formation of overwhelming force, was surrounded. Varesh's mind lurched for alternatives. They still had numbers. The humans had firepower, but the Dominion had fleets that spanned the stars. He barked the order for a tactical withdrawal. **** Jump to FTL and regroup. ****. Jump drives unresponsive. An officer screeched. Humanity had planned for that too. Their jamming fields, invisible before, now glowed across the tactical displays like an iron cage slamming shut. There was no retreat. A cold realization settled into Varesh's gut. The humans had never been negotiating. Never been afraid. They had engineered this moment from the start. Another Dominion warship died, then another. Explosions flared in rapid succession as human railguns, missiles, and hacked internal systems tore through their ranks. The Zalvor were not fighting an enemy, they were being hunted. A deep, sinking certainty settled over the Supreme Commander. They had lost. Zalvor's ships burned. What had once been a symbol of their empire's absolute authority was now a graveyard of twisted metal and drifting bodies. Human warships moved through the wreckage like predators, precise and relentless. There was no chaos on their side, no reckless aggression, only cold, calculated destruction. The surviving Dominion vessels fired desperately, but their weapons were useless. Kinetic rounds shredded their hulls, electronic warfare disabled their systems, and their own stolen energy was thrown back at them. For the first time in history, the Zalvor were on the receiving end of annihilation. Varesh gripped the edge of his command chair, his mind scrambling for an explanation. This wasn't just superior tactics. The humans had known exactly how the Dominion would react. They had prepared for this battle before the first transmission was ever sent. A sudden burst of interference crackled through the command bridge. The human admiral's voice returned, calm and deliberate. Supreme Commander, I suggest you listen very carefully. A distorted feed flickered onto the display. It was their own fleet, every remaining Dominion warship, their system readouts exposed. One by one, those signals began vanishing. No explosions. No visible attacks. Just silence. You rely on dominance. You assume fear will keep others in line. But fear only works when there's no alternative. Another warship winked out. Then another. You wanted submission. Instead, you've shown the galaxy something else entirely. Varesh's claws dug into the armrests. His fleet was dying before his eyes, and the humans were speaking as if they had already moved on to the next step. A final, distant explosion echoed through the void. The last Dominion capital ship detonated, splitting apart like shattered glass. The Zalvor Dominion had never encountered an enemy they could not terrify into surrender. Until now. The galaxy listened. Across Dominion-controlled systems, the impossible had been broadcast. Wreckage where an armada once stood, the Zalvor's greatest fleet reduced to drifting ruins. Fear, once their greatest weapon, now turned against them. The invincible had fallen. Survivors fled, their escape pods drifting toward the void, carrying the weight of their species' first true defeat. Their distress signals went unanswered. No reinforcements came. The Dominion, so used to conquest, had never planned for loss. On the bridge of his crippled flagship, Varesh sat motionless. His empire's rule had been built on intimidation, but humanity had proven a truth he had refused to acknowledge. Power meant nothing without the means to enforce it. A final transmission arrived. The human admiral's face was calm, his words final. This was a warning. You will not receive another. The signal cut. In the distance, human warships realigned, engines burning bright as they prepared for their next destination. The Zalvor had thought themselves the end of history. But history had just been rewritten. By humanity.